We have Itamar Golan from Prompt Security, which we're extremely excited about, especially for the European market. We've recently signed our service agreement and are working with Prompt Security in Europe to deploy, mainly focused on large enterprise, but could be startups, MSP, SaaS, anyone who is concerned about GenAI, the new attack surfaces, and we'll be discussing that today. I'd like to hand over for our introduction to Arnold Juffer, our CEO. He has some very quick overview on who we are before we get going with the main topic. And we have some really quick, exciting announcements. And again, just a very brief summary. So Arnold, let me hand it over to you.
Yes, thanks, Bam, for the intro. Hi, everybody. Appreciate you all being on this webinar. We've crossed the line of 1,000 registered users for this webinar, so it's underlining that AI is very top of mind everywhere. I want to give a quick introduction for everybody who doesn't know Nebul yet. We are a sovereign hybrid cloud provider with European values on privacy and compliance. And you might ask, what do you mean with that? Well, we think that Europe needs to reclaim its strategic independence, especially with everything going on in the world. So our sovereign cloud is a true private cloud with hybrid features. That means that you can combine on-premises deployments with our private cloud and create ultimate privacy and performance experience while you connect to public clouds for services with lower service security requirements. We specialized in building the modern data center and those cloud solutions based on the high performance computing technology of our partners like NVIDIA, Fast Data, NetApp, RunAI, UbiOps, and also Prompt Security, who's in the webinar today. The result is a high performance cloud that enables you to build and run powerful AI applications from our AI factory. You can design digital twins with great precision and enable the next generation workspace that has all these capabilities in the desktop for your future workforce in a very private and secure way. I need to do the next. Sorry. Yeah. So and the next man, please. Yeah. So yeah, talking about security, I think security and compliance are the pillars of trust, what our customers expect. You don't want to share or risk your most precious and sensitive data with public AI services, leaking out that information into the world. As I always say, remember, this is your data, your intellectual property, and you can give it only away once. Once it's out there. In our data centers, we've built our cloud infrastructure on security by design principles, and we use advanced encryption to ensure your data is safe at rest and in transit, and all that to make sure that you are compliant with European legislation and directives like the NIS2 and GDPR. Final word about our sovereign hybrid cloud. We've been measuring and benchmarking that our technology stack, and it turns out that we deliver about 16 times the performance and at half the cost of your typical hyperscaler. So our costs are also very predictable, so you can make a budget without fearing unexpected cost. I think that's a very, very important part. That being said, a lot has happened since our last webinar. Everybody who hasn't been following us in the news, I'll summarize very short. We've recently finished a 20 million funding round, enabling us to expand to our first superpod scale here in the Netherlands, and opening that up for European customers, production European customers. And for 2025, we're looking at expanding the scale of our superpod to more than 1,000 GPUs. We've officially signed a partnership with UbiOps, the MLOps platform that enables users to get started with AI and data science with ease and without complexity. So we're pretty excited about that too. And finally, we've signed a partnership with Prompt Security, trusted leader in securing organizations and AI workloads against a whole array of new threats that's being unleashed on us every day. So we're very excited about these milestones, and it enables us to further develop our services and solutions and improve our customer experience. That's what it's all about in the end. And with AI security and control being the center topic today of the webinar, it's no more than logical that we've asked Prompt Security to join us. And I would like to introduce Itamar. He's the CEO of Prompt Security, and he will be giving us his views and insights into what a 360-degree security approach to AI actually means. So, Itamar, thanks for making time to be on our webinar today. I'm really excited about it, and I think you have a great story to tell and an amazing product to show that supports our joint vision on how to secure your organization and your AI. So thanks for being here, and I'll hand the mic over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Arnold. Thanks, Bam. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. First of all, congrats on the funding round. Super impressive, and it's only the start for you.
Yeah.
We are super happy to collaborate with you in, deploying private and safe AI across the board and initiatives. So I think it's a very important milestone. Today, I'll try to share with you folks out there in the audience a little bit more about the security implications of adopting AI. As you all aware of, probably not smaller than what we've felt with the cloud or the internet. AI is here to stay. Any company or enterprise must adopt it in order to stay competitive and relevant and ahead of the curve. This is not something you can ignore or put aside, no matter which organization are you and from which industry or vertical you are coming from. And we would like, together with Nebul, to deliver a way to make it a safe adoption. Adopting AI massively in order to accelerate processes, but without sacrificing what is important for you around security, around data privacy and compliance, etc. And we will touch this a little bit more today through the presentation. Just a quick recap about myself. I'm doing AI or data science or statistics, like we called it before, since I'm 16, something like that. I did my master's in physics in transformer, which are the core architecture behind LLMs. It's not a new concept, by the way. It's just a good product recently with a lot of compute, and that combination made it special recently. And I was a part of the core team of OWASP Top 10 for LLM, which kind of drew, for the first time in the industry, the new attack surface created by GenAI, and derived from that the framework for how to protect it properly. Most of my career in cybersecurity organization, like Checkpoint and Orca Security, and today the CEO of Prompt. Regarding the company, just a few words about it. So we are almost 20 people, R&D and product in Tel Aviv, go-to-market in the States, mostly in the East Coast, in between the seed and the A round, very close to the second iteration. And we are completely GA, deployed in more than 35 companies already, many of them already paying, delivering the right experience, hopefully, for adopting AI safely. We can go ahead, Bam.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly outline the agenda before we dive into the technology. So today we're going to cover private AI versus public AI, which is kind of I would consider it an architectural decision, and it's really good to be aware of that. And the good news is that Prompt can cover both of these type of architectures well. We'll cover a little bit about the statistics related to the adoption of GenAI, which is extremely prevalent across the world. Shadow AI is a big topic on how do we protect employees and data inside the company. Maybe you're building your own generative AI applications using LLMs and other technologies. That's something that needs to be protected. This is a new attack surface. And one of the bigger conversations as well, these are the top 3 things that we're going to talk about today, is how do you protect your software developer code base, your intellectual property, your code from getting sucked into an LLM or to generative AI and being shared unnecessarily. We'll talk about how to secure your environment, and finally, what actions you can take in the simplest way to get immediate protection, even while you consider what to do. So let me cover quickly just 1 minute on what is public AI versus private AI, just to clarify. We have, we talk to enterprise and all kinds of companies. Public AI is really good at experimentation, figuring out little micro experiments, getting results. It becomes questionable when you want to attach your company data, your organizational or corporate data to that. That's when you have to start taking considerations on how to do that. Private AI is an architecture which says that we first prioritize the data protection policies, and we bring the AI capabilities to that protected environment. So where public AI, you're connecting with APIs or you're uploading data in a prompt to a remotely managed public typically shared system, something like OpenAI, ChatGPT. For graphical systems, it could be Runway ML or others, essentially paid services, generally speaking. Your data kind of loses the protection that you normally would have. And so we advise against that for sensitive data. With private AI, you're bringing in open source LLMs, you're bringing into your trusted environment, and everything is and nothing is connected to the outside world. So this is a kind of public cloud versus private cloud kind of conversation where the data can be in your data center or a secure, dedicated private data center. So basically, we advise for sensitive data to keep data within your absolute control. Open source provides transparency of how the technology works and for example, how it was trained and what it's doing. Always, as a rule, maintain your sovereignty, compliance, your data security, and we'll cover in a little bit how to maintain strategic independence. In other words, not becoming dependent on a commercial platform that maybe does everything, but brings inherent risks with it as well. So basically, just to summarize here, private AI is generally self-hosted or in a dedicated infrastructure as a service or dedicated private cloud. And public AI would be proprietary, generally paid AI services hosted by third parties. In this case, they typically are hosted in the US, which brings other challenges for governments, universities, and corporations. So looking on the left, just to wrap this section up, and we'll get on to the conversation today. We see that OpenAI, Copilot, Gemini from Google, Bedrock, all great platforms, but very proprietary and exposed to the US Cloud Act, which essentially allows any US organization to reach in and kind of grab that data anywhere in the world. That could be in Europe, it could be anywhere around the world. And in Europe, we're advising an EU-centric private type of deployment, which would leverage open source software and private capabilities, again, like a private cloud on dedicated infrastructure. NVIDIA provides one way to do this, where their AI enterprise and their new AI factory software stack for developing generative AI and in production, running generative AI in production. This can be run on Microsoft Cloud, it can be run on AWS, it can be run on Google's cloud, but it can also be run on-prem, and it can be run in a private cloud like Nebul. And so we see the most popular format being the sovereign hybrid cloud, which means there's some data on-prem, there's some data in cloud, and when it goes to our focused sovereign hybrid AI cloud with the software from NVIDIA, you're operating in a private AI mode, which means that you're completely compliant in terms of government regulations, EU regulations, and corporate regulations. So with that, let me hand it over to Itamar again, and he's going to get into how do we protect ourselves with GenAI. First, start off with some stats, but why don't you talk us through this, Itamar?
Thanks, Ben. So I'm a data scientist originally, so I think that statistics and numbers are the best way to start and to build like a solid foundation to the discussion. So let's touch a few stats, which I didn't invent. They're all taken from the last Gartner review. For example, almost half of the IT executives, 42, listed in 2023 data privacy as their main GenAI concern, following BAM recent few slides. Almost 90% of business technologists would find a way practically to bypass security guidance in order to meet the business objective. So we need to take it for granted that people would find a way if we wouldn't put the right limitations and enforce guidelines beyond only asking them to do so. And around a third of the enterprises which deployed AI, and I find it very, very surprising and intimidating in the same breath, almost a third of the enterprises that already deployed AI suffered from a security breach, from sensitive data leak to prompt injection or adversarial attack. 1 out of 3 deployed AI and already suffered a security breach. In 2025, most of the research is already speaking about more than half of the companies that would suffer from something like that. So those are numbers we need to take into consideration. Now we can move to the following slide, and let's talk a little bit more about the adoption, not necessarily only the concerns and threats. I think the potential around AI is huge, and we don't want necessarily only to threaten people. I'm the first one to believe that AI is the new revolution and mostly an opportunity for businesses to accelerate processes, to build new deliveries, to make things they couldn't do before. But we just need to do it with cautious and in the right way, in private cloud, for example, and with the right guidelines and enforcement. So let's talk a little bit about the adoption. More than 90% of Fortune 500 already use OpenAI. This is something we need to think about for a moment. This technology practically is not older than 2 years. It's true that OpenAI and their deliveries are here for 5, 6, 7 years, but practically most of the world is aware to OpenAI since the ChatGPT inception around 2 years ago, and already more than 90% of Fortune 500 adopted it. If we would add to the equation the non-OpenAI LLMs like Mistral and Anthropic, we are talking about almost 100% in 18 months. It's insane. 75% of the CIOs plan to increase the budget in 2024 and 2025. And when we are looking on other aspects and budget lines, the story is usually declining. So AI is the only thing right now to push the market in a very tough circumstances up and towards a better place. And maybe lastly, over this slide, almost 95% of business leaders agree. This is a consensus that AI is critical to success over the next 5 years. And I find it amazing anytime I'm speaking with a customer or a prospect, and I'm happy to hear that this is already something that we have a major consensus about. AI is something critical to adopt and to use. This is not a question, and I would give you a quick analogy. Before I secured the cloud, and it took time, almost 4 or 5 years, in order to CISOs and CIOs and CTOs to agree that cloud is something that needs to be adopted without a question. For AI, it's happening much, much faster, so the adoption is huge.
Cool. And here, Itamar, we're going to, of course, cover these things in a little bit of detail later on. So I just wanted to show this slide that people can get a really quick glimpse of all the threats that are suddenly here, and we can't just put our head in the sand. What I will ask you is, and Arnold as well, why should we adopt AI, right? I think we need to be competitive. Arnold or Itamar, do you have any thoughts on this? Why should we be taking these risks?
Yeah, so I think if we look to the next level of business productivity and innovation, right, it's going to be driven by AI. I recently saw a software company that transformed its proposition as in being a pure software company and delivering software services to their customers. They added in AI and basically now provide some sort of a workforce to the customers that subscribe to their software licensing, right? So it's not only that you buy a license that your people can use. You now have a software license that also brings that digital employee with it, right? So, and there's a whole new model evolving. So this whole AI will develop itself in ways we cannot perceive right now, not in any way, right? So whole new business models are being developed and delivered to us, and companies need to investigate and see what this means for them and how they're going to adapt their strategy to it. And that's not something you can do in 1 or 2 years. This is something you need to start on right now. You need to have time to experiment, and it's not something you can do in a very short time. So you need to build yourself some runway and start to experiment today. If you're starting with it in 1 or 2 years, you're, I think, behind.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Itamar, is the bigger risk for your business not adopting AI or adopting AI with all the new surface attacks out there? I'm not sure.
That's a good question, and I'm going to shoot my leg over here, but I think that probably, to speak objectively, not adopt AI. I really agree with Arnold. I think that the two main reasons to adopt AI are to enable the business. There are problems that couldn't be solved before LLMs and GenAI. I'm meeting customers all day long that had problems for decades. They were trying to solve with plenty of human resources without a huge success, and suddenly AI does it, not as a magic, but much more easily. And the second phase Arnold mentioned is business productivity, no matter if it's the marketing fellows or the developers or people from the financial department. Everyone now has AI-powered tools to accelerate their productivity by, according to most of the surveys and researchers, around 20-30% already. This is something which is not negligible.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to quickly introduce here, set up Itamar, the 3 areas that we think are the most important. And then Itamar is going to give us some details on these. So the first one is protecting employee usage, and that includes protecting employee data, but also protecting the company with sensitive data from GenAI. The interesting part here, which Itamar is going to explain, is that even if you decided not to deploy GenAI, your employees, and if you are an employee, right, you're using various GenAI tools, which bring certain risks. So you could be a company that says, hey, we're not ready for this, but still 50, 60, 70% of employees are using it already, which already is the risk. The other type of company is actually deploying their own homegrown GenAI apps. And we see lots of kind of what seem to us funny examples of LLMs interacting with clients and customers, not so funny for the company. And these need to be protected against. And the third is, again, software developers, which are adopting AI as part of their code development procedures. There are risks there too. And so prompt security, and we totally agree. These are really the high level things that executives should be thinking about. And whether you're ready to adopt AI or not, these are the things that if you don't make a decision, you kind of are making a decision. Let's move on to this one, and Itamar, maybe you can cover shadow AI specifically, because I think that's a really interesting one. But we're going to cover the 3 things. Why don't you walk us through the risks and how you guys help here?
Yeah. So we are kind of looking at it as a crawl, walk, run process. I think that any organization already aware and should be concerned about the employee usage part. Any organization has plenty of employees utilizing AI. It's not a question, and some of them are trying to block certain GenAI categories, but statistics is talking about around 30, 40 new GenAI apps on a daily basis. And by the way, not only the pure ChatGPT ones, also any SaaS, any website has an embedded co-pilot within it, like Notion and Canva and Monday and Asana. So AI is everywhere. Your data is reaching there all the time, even if you don't approve it in your procurement. Somebody in the marketing department already browsed to a certain AI tools, and he interacts with those AI with your enterprise data, you need to get the visibility first of all. For your control purposes and for future compliance and audit reasons, you need to understand which AI is being utilized by your employees, which prompts, files, texts, data is being shared with that AI. And in case it's violating your AI policy, you need a tool to enforce it in real time, in the sense of if somebody is sharing, I don't know, PII of your customers with Gemini, you would like a real-time detection and response tool to modify the prompt in real time and to prevent that sensitive data leak, while in the same breath, not block entirely the employees, because following your question, Bam, we would like to enable AI, but in the same breath, we would like to keep our data safe. So we need to find that sweet spot, and that's what we are trying to do in the employee use case: visibility and modification of prompts being sent outside when there is a violation for GDPR or some other compliance and data privacy framework.
Great. How about, I think there's, kind of 3 points here that you want to probably make, and then we have an architecture slide after that. So let me know when you want me to go to the architecture. Maybe you can walk us through this.
Yeah, I think the main value proposition in the employee use case is first of all to detect the shadow AI. I would share with you an eye candy in an average POC today. We deploy prompt on 30 endpoints, something like that, and within a week we detect something around 50 GenAI applications. So this is the shadow AI discovery phase. First value proposition, super important for any organization. Second, we would like to define the AI policy, and prompt will enforce it in real time. So any violation would be modified or blocked. This is not only detection and visibility. We also have the prevention component. And third, we would make sure you are compliant with the relevant compliance framework, starting from the previous ones, and our AI is implicating them, like GDPR and CCPA and PCI. But we are witnessing very soon a designated AI policies that would need to be taken care of as well.
Great. So from my understanding, not as deep as yours, we can deploy prompt very transparently, do some scanning, give the executive team some valuable insights, define some policies, and then protect. Maybe you can take us quickly through this slide to make sure people can visualize that.
Yeah, definitely. This is a bit complex diagram, but the flow is much easier. Within a few minutes, using an MDM like Intune or Jump that any organization has today, we can deploy prompt, browser plugin, or agent to any group of employees you would like. It could be 1 employee, 4 employees, the entire organization. Within a few minutes, we are already starting the discovery phase, and you are getting into the prompt portal, all the logs of people trying to access AI with the exact prompts and the violations. You can forensic it and explore it. And by the way, all of this data could be streamlined to your SIEM system like Splunk, Rapid7, or whatever else you are using. So together again, through our collaboration of Nebul and Prompt, we can deliver this discovery and prevention literally within a few minutes. Very straightforward deployment and onboarding.
Perfect. And of course, outside of this live stream, we can get into more detail about your specific environment, but just trying to cover the high level here. So this section, the first section covered, how do we protect companies that haven't even decided to deploy GenAI, but of course everybody's using it. Let's move on to the next section, which is a little bit more advanced. And in this case, we say, hey, there's lots of companies, it's prevalent everywhere, that are creating their own GenAI applications and deploying those typically for tech support, customer interaction, sales, all kinds of customer-oriented things. There's many. And, why don't you, Itamar, of course, there's a lot of risks here, and this is very high level, but why don't you take us, through these things very quickly, and then we'll see how we can prevent these things from happening to us.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I think that this might be the biggest attack vector of this century. People are building applications today with LLMs differently. Some people in the community already calling it up 2.0. There is the LLM, which is suddenly getting like plenty of privileges and power because it's so amazing. It's being integrated to our precious assets like APIs and databases and code execution in order to fulfill the features that we were aiming for. And in the same breath, like one op or two ops down the line, we have a chat interface that suddenly accepts natural language, unstructured, untrusted by nature. So practically, and people call it prompt injection or jailbreaks, but let's put it simply. Any creative hacker, which suddenly could be only a good writer or prompt engineer, that is tricking the LLM-based application into accessing the wrong table in the database or running the wrong code on your EC2 or tricking the API that is integrated with, could lead to very serious attacks we knew before, like privilege escalation and SQL injection and remote code execution. But now the attack surface is basically the chat interface, and the input is basically English or French or Chinese. And just yesterday, I think JFrog and a few independent researchers exposed a huge vulnerability in a very famous machine learning library that enabled people through prompt injection to create remote code execution. So this is not something theoretical. This is happening in the wild right now. There are a few Fortune 500 companies we even prompt security collaborating with, that through their chat you can perform those kind of attacks. And this is something you need an instant protection for. Super crucial and super dramatic if the wrong man is trying to utilize that backdoor.
Yeah, there's many. I remember we had we found one bug where if you type the same word 3 times in the ChatGPT prompt, it starts spitting out, gigabytes, megabytes, and gigabytes of PII data from somewhere, and nobody knew where it was. They eventually plugged that, but there's so many easy hacks here. You don't even have to be a hacker anymore. You can just have to speak a language, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. When I'm recruiting people to my red team group in prompt security, I'm looking for a combination between a security hacker and writer. So yes. It's a new position.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I understand from experience now and in our own data center that we can shut these attacks down. So can you, guide us through how you guys do that here?
Yeah, so to put it simply, and again, it's very fluffy and high level. Whoever is more interested, we will do a drill down later on. But practically, if you build an LLM-based application, we are integrated within it using an API, SDK, or reverse proxy. Again, a few minutes of integration, not more than that. And then we deliver protection in 3 categories. The first one is security per se, prompt injection and jailbreaks and DDoS attacks. When we would detect those kind of attempts, we would block them. The second category is data privacy. Anytime prompt security will detect a prompt being sent with a third-party LLM or vector database, etc., we can sanitize the PII, secrets, confidential data, making sure that your private data remains safe. And the third category is content moderation. Now, as you may aware and saw the Chevrolet example or Air Canada, more and more companies are taking Copilot and AI features to the outer world, to external customers. And the responses from the GenAI Copilot are becoming your brand reputation. You wouldn't like it to be racist or harmful or generally off-brand. And using prompt security, you can define the guardrails that would constrain the conversation around the legitimate topics. And of course, combining it all together, you can reach complete governance and control on the usage, along by staying compliant with the relevant frameworks.
Excellent. We've been running this in our data center, and can confirm that all of these things worked. Of course, our engineers are trying to trick the LLMs constantly for information it shouldn't be saying, and we're having great success there, which is why we're so confident about the solution. let's move on to the last major section. So we've heard from Jensen himself that nobody should learn how to code anymore. I'm not one to question that, of course, but of course coders, developers, software developers are using AI to enhance their results, and of course they're exposing their code, which is highly protected and copyrighted and has secrets. So this is a major area for every executive, head of software development, and even the CEO, the CTO to really think about. Can you walk us through your experience here and some of these risks? What should we be watching out for?
Yeah, definitely. We see a massive increase in AI-powered code assistants. The most famous one is GitHub Copilot, but surprisingly, there are dozens of them. Some of them are corporated, accepted, like GitHub Copilot Enterprise. But when we deploy prompt and we are running the Shadow AI discovery in pretty highly regulated industries, we are detecting dozens of different AI-powered code assistants. The developers just integrated into their IDEs like Visual Studio Code and PyCharm, etc. They did it independently on their own because it's accelerating their day-to-day life, and they did it without any approval. And practically all the code in the Visual Studio Code where you write the code is being shared all the time with this third-party server that's running the code completion, but essentially accepting all the IP of the organization. And not only the IP, even more seriously, the secrets. Any developer once in a while is copying some secret to AWS or to GitHub or to Twitter, any API is using, any API key is using. And when it's pasted in the IDE, it's being shared with the third-party servers. And like Arnold said at the beginning, when your secret data reach the AI, it's a lost battle. You cannot make it to unremember that. And it will be generated down the line in other places, including your secrets, to your most precious assets. So we are there to detect it and to sanitize it all the time without interfering the developer's experience. He's not even feeling it, no overhead to latency, no intervention. Just when we see a very sensitive IP or a secret or something that we need to redact, we take care of it in the way out, making sure both sides are satisfied.
Excellent. So yeah, definitely something for shops that are developing their own software, right? This is a really important, we think. And there's something on the internet called the Barbra Streisand effect, which is when you try to remove something from the internet, it actually becomes more popular, right? Which we've all learned. So that's very difficult. Yeah. So here's a little opportunity to describe how we can protect that. Why don't we finish off this section here?
Yeah, practically it's the same thing that I've already mentioned, mostly to monitor the code being sent outside along by the code generated and get inside your organization repositories, enforcing your policy on your policies on top of those both directions, making sure nothing sensitive is being shared, nothing malicious is being responded inside. That's around it.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the summary, Itamar. We're approaching our time, so we want to talk about next steps. So how do we take action in a practical manner, right? We've described today 3 significant things to think about. One is how to protect our employees and employee data if you're not using GenAI. One is to protect your homegrown GenAI apps, and one to protect your secrets in software development. So Itamar, you have a lot of experience with how to get companies focused and going. Why don't you take us through here quickly in your practical experience, summarize for us what we can do as next steps?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we need to always advocate with the Pareto principle. We can do very basic stuff that will get us 80% of the work. First of all, this is a new realm, AI. You need visibility. You need an inventory of all the GenAI applications and users in your environment and organization. That's first, get the right control and understanding about the usage before taking action. Then you need to understand what is legitimate in your contextual business needs. What is the right policy? Which application could be used? Is that okay for your developers to use GitHub Copilot for getting, 30% acceleration, or the risk is too high? Define the policy and socialize it, then start to enforce it. Monitor any interaction, compare it to the policy you define, per the user, per the application, per the time and need and use case. And in case you see violations, you need to act, to respond, preferably in real time and not retrospectively, like we talked about the unremembering thing. And of course, let's combine together the regulation implication. Europe is much more advanced at the moment than the States and APAC. You have the GDPR, of course, but the EU AI Act, which is becoming very enforcing very soon. So we need to tailor it inside the policy and the enforcement of it. And lastly, let's sanitize the input and outputs. I think that 80% of the concerns could be mitigated if we will detect any policy violation in the input or the output and sanitize it accordingly. And of course, education. This is a new technology, a new uncharted territory. People need to understand the potential and the risks. And I would say objectively that you need something to enforce in real time. All of what I've mentioned is nice, but education is not enough and policy is not enough. You need to act and to enforce, like with any other technology in the past. Not that complicated. You just need to build the right plan and to execute accordingly.
Thanks, Itamar. So kind of a funny joke going around is that, of course, the US is very advanced in AI development and Europe is extremely advanced in regulating something that is a little bit new over here, right? So we're ahead on the regulations for sure, right? We want to be more ahead on the innovations as well. That's what we're trying to do with the companies we're working with.
You're balancing each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm gonna just summarize here, and I'll ask Arnold to talk about how we can take next steps on the second part. So just again, the summary: shadow AI, protecting employees. If you're deploying generative AI applications, you need to think about this. If you're deploying software, you need to think about this. But really, the biggest risk is if you're not thinking about it at all, you're still exposed to the number one here, which is the shadow AI, and that's something that every organization on the planet needs to start thinking about. Arnold, let's wrap it up here. Can you give us an idea, like what are some of the next steps we can take here?
Yeah, sure. A good thing to point out, I guess we've seen the three most important business cases or use cases for protecting your AI environment. I think they're all very tangible, right? So there are a lot of software companies working on building new products and services all the time, even if it's not in AI themselves. They're using AI tools, like Itamar just pointed out, to help accelerate their productivity. And what we as a company try to do is build that technology, that security technology, right into our technology stack. So if someone uses our AI factory, prompt security is something that will come along with that technology stack. So our customers will be using it almost standardly in their proposition. But I can imagine there are a lot of companies, especially here in Europe, that are still thinking about, we don't know yet what we're going to do. We want to make some action, or we want to take some action, and we are not very sure about what's going on in our company at this moment. So shadow AI is one of the real big risks at this point. So that should be a good starting point to get started, right? And that's why we help our customers with, as soon as they think, we want to get some insight into what we're doing, what our staff is doing, what data goes in, what data goes out, how do we secure that? That's something that we can help them out with. And like Itamar said, it's just a matter of minutes, hours to get a solution like this deployed, right? And it all starts with inside. So we've got a basic plan to do that. We can start out very quickly. If companies want to take that step and create that insight for themselves, we can do a POC of a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and get insight for them. Moving forward to securing to the next level. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So just to wrap it up, we're happy to continue the conversation. Please ping us. Let's validate your requirements. Let's understand the commercial technical implications, help you validate the solution. And the important part is to continue to assess all the new risks, which we put all of our trust into Prompt Security with all of their experts and experience.
Right.
Itamar, any final words before we wrap up?
No, it's been a pleasure, and keep on innovating AI, but do it safely.
Excellent.
Nebul and Prompt will take care of you.
That's right. It's an amazing partnership, and we're here in Europe representing you guys, and very pleased so far with everything. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's been a great session. This session will be available on our LinkedIn site as a recording. So in case you've missed it or want to go back and see some details, please do. And please do reach out to us from our website or from LinkedIn. We'll be happy to discuss a POC or deployment and helping to assess the risk. So thank you, Arnold, for your participation today. And Itamar, I know you're very, very busy, always traveling. Thank you for the time today. And we want to thank everybody for joining us today. And we hope to talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend, all.
Likewise.